Good evening, CMST 320. This is Brendon Favre, and this is my Module 4 discussion. For question 1, using your text as the basis for your response, discuss how one can analyze if they are assertive or responsive. Why is self-analysis helpful in identifying the cultural style and perception of a person? All right, in section 5.1.1, a social style is defined as a combination of two primary dimensions, assertiveness and responsiveness. Assertiveness is the capacity to make requests, to actively disagree, to express positive or negative personal feelings, to initiate, maintain, or disengage from conversations, and to stand up for oneself without attacking another person. Responsiveness is the capacity to be sensitive to the communication of others, to be seen as a good listener, to make others comfortable in communicating, and to recognize the needs and desires of others. In section 5.1.1, the book provides a self-analysis tool that consists of 20 personality characteristics that will help you determine if you are assertive or responsive. Depending on your self-reported levels of assertiveness and responsiveness, your social style will fall into one of the following 4 quadrants: amiable, analytical, driver, or expressive. We can use the same assessment tool to find out another person's social style. To do this, when answering the questions, we should answer how we feel the other person would respond. By doing this, we can identify what the best approach for our message would be. This is important because we need to be able to communicate our message in a style that will be received by the other person. This is also important because it will help us identify any cultural differences that we might encounter and how we can reduce them prior to communicating. So by using this self-assessment tool that the book provided us, and we answer the questions at how we feel that the other person we might be having a meeting with would answer to those questions, we can kind of find out if there's going to be any cultural differences right there. If they are more linear, time is a commodity to them, then we want to make sure that we show up on time. We want to make sure that we're acting in a more professional manner than being laid back. If they're all business, we want to make sure that we're all business. We don't want to go in talking about our kids and our family and what we had for lunch and what we like to do on the weekends if they don't really care. It's all about getting the message across and communicating. On the other hand, if the culture we're going to be dealing with or the person we're going to be dealing with is more of a personal type of person where they want to know the person they're doing business with and, they want to have a warm and fuzzy about them, then that's when, we need to understand that maybe taking a more laid back approach is the best method for dealing with that person. So it's just about, again, knowing your audience and knowing how to convey the message properly. For question 3, evaluate why comparing and contrasting is considered the best way to understand generational communication. Make sure you use and cite your text in the response. All right, in section 5.4, the text states that generational differences are just another form of intercultural communication. Groups of employees born in one generation are communicating across another generation. Although it's important to understand that the groups of people that are born in different generations share more similarities than differences, it's vital to be aware of, appreciate, and value the differences between the generations. In section 5.4.1, it discusses why comparing and contrasting is considered the best way to understand generational communication. I feel that comparing and contrasting is the best method because it clearly shows the differences and similarities between generations. It will help us see that even though there may be an age gap, we really aren't that different. The only time we see a large difference in how we approach something is when we look at a larger generational difference. For example, when you have somebody born in 1946 and somebody born in 2000, they're going to have a much different approach to accomplishing a task. But if we look at someone born in the 80s and someone born in the 2000s, the difference is going to be much less. The biggest difference you're going to see is the work tempo. As we've gone from 1946 to the 2000s, technology has become a lot more prevalent in the workplace, and so things are being done a lot faster. Versus back in 1946, a lot of stuff was still done through snail mail and letter mail, that type of stuff. Versus now we have email and all those types of things. So tempo was the biggest generational difference that I got from this. And again, from one generation to the next generation, there are not really that many differences. The biggest differences we're going to have is when we're spanning multiple generation. So again, going from 1946 to 2000, we're going to have a lot of differences in there because business was conducted much differently versus if we look at somebody born in the 80s or 90s versus the 2000s. They're going to be a lot more similar. Again, the work tempo is going to be more, but that's going to be due to technology. And that's all I got for Module 4 discussions. Thank you for taking the time to watching. Have a good night. Thanks again.